Hi, you guys. This is Rashawn Ellis with News, Views, and Conversations. Just wanted to pop in real quick. I want to leave you one of my favorite podcasters next to the Minus Touch. I love the IHIP ladies. I've had it podcast, and I was listening to them today, and they said something that I thought that was just so profound. Listen to the entire video. I want you to just hear everything that they had to say. My favorite part was when they said that there is a white Jesus and a brown Jesus, and we see how the white Jesus is acting in the White House. And we're seeing how us Black folks, our brown Jesus, how we are humble, we have empathy. And the white Jesus, they got none of that. The white Jesus is acting like a narcissist. I just want you to hear these ladies. I love their show. And I want to share the information that they shared with us today. I thought everything they said was so profound. Check out their channel. I love them. Also, check out the Midas Touch as well. These guys are phenomenal. As I said before, we got decent white folk. Everybody ain't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So check it out. This is News, Views, and Conversations with Rashawn Ellis. I will see you in the next one.
Kristi Noem is a complete psychopath, and she was hired because of that. There has been reporting that her killing the dog, which should have been disqualifying, of course, for Trump and Stephen Miller, it was uber qualifying. This is the exact type of person they want to collaborate with to execute their dream of getting power and maintaining power. And behind Stephen Miller, behind J.D. Vance, behind Donald Trump, behind Kristi Noem are oligarchs, nerdy, geeky, dangerous, psychopathic oligarchs like Peter Thiel that want to dismantle democracy. And so how do you do that? You find morally corrupt people to collaborate with. Here is Jamie Raskin of the House of Representatives, who does incredible work, absolutely destroying Kristi Noem.
A personal slush fund. You budgeted an astonishing $220 million for media consultant contracts so you can star in self-promoting photo shoots and lavish ad campaigns like this one of you riding horseback at Mount Rushmore, which was shot during last year's government shutdown. You're living rent-free in the official waterfront residence reserved for the commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. You spent $172 million to buy not one, but two luxury jets for your travel, and now you're using taxpayer funds to lease a third jet, a $70 million luxury 737 MAX with a queen-size bedroom in the back, a deluxe serving bar.
All right, pause it right there. It's really important that we point out that a big Republican lie, long before Trump, has always been, oh, we have to tackle spending and we're so good for business. This has been a lie. So to everybody out there in America, when you hear Republicans perpetuate this lie that they're so good with business, you have fallen prey to propaganda. The Republican Party has always used the American government to extract what they can from it for the richest of the rich, period. That is what the Republican Party has done. It is on steroids with the Trump regime. The Trump regime is not only doing it for just the oligarchs that support them, but for themselves personally. Kristi Noem sees this as, oh, I don't want to fly commercial anymore. Oh, you're telling me there's a plane that has a bed in it where I can fuck Corey Lewandowski while I wear my Christian cross? And by the way, listener, Corey Lewandowski is her lover, not her husband that she has a biblical marriage with. These people are liars and con artists and thieves. The Republicans and MAGA, these are thieves, and they steal from the very people that vote for them. Play the clip.
Green TVs, a big, beautiful jet paid for by the big, beautiful bill. Yesterday, under questioning the Senate, you said you plan to refurbish this jet to make it into this kind of airplane, which is what's actually being used for deportations in order to save the taxpayers' money. In other words, you're saying that's actually a deportation plane, but wouldn't it have been cheaper just to buy a deportation plane in the first place? It's like buying a Rolls Royce to turn into a Metro bus. I was almost prepared to buy that story of how the jet was both for executive travel and mass deportation. And then I heard about an airborne episode of entitlement, arrogance, and contempt that I could hardly believe. Apparently, when your special blanket, your blankie, was left on one of the government jets and not transported over to the new one, your special government employee, Corey Lewandowski, chivalrously stepped forward to fire the pilot midair, a 2003 Coast Guard Academy graduate and distinguished U.S. Coast Guard commander in Air Station, Washington, D.C. But then he had to be rehired immediately because there was no one else who could fly the two of you on the rest of the journey back home.
Pumps.
When I see this, I'm like, there is no shame in these people. What are we doing with somebody that has a bed on a plane with her boyfriend, that fires Coast Guard over her blanket, that pulls rescue missions from the Coast Guard so she can allegedly deport the worst of the worst? The corruption, and here's the deal. Kristi Noem is not at large. She is dumb. She is corrupt. She is cruel. So she fits right in. But when you put a mirror up to her, she is exactly, in my mind, the same as Donald Trump. She's just not as charismatic. These people do not give a fuck about anybody but themselves. And she wants to bang her, her boyfriend on a plane. That should not be taxpayer funded, in my opinion. We should have accountability. Like, where the fuck is Doge at DHS? Which I know Doge was the bullshit thing, but where is the forensic accounting? I mean, this is corruption on steroids.
I hate to be the skunk at the garden party, but there will be none. Supreme Court gave Trump immunity. They paved the way for him to get here. Joe Biden's DOJ paved the way for Trump to be here. This is nationwide moral collapse. Accountability is in the rear view mirror. And God love Jamie Raskin for sitting there, and the Democrats that actually go in there and fight and don't play patty cake and pretend to be for democracy. Meanwhile, they're just fascist collaborators like Chuck Schumer. But here, you're speaking about the affair. Here's Kristi Noem questioned about her affair with Corey Lewandowski. And it's really important that everybody know the right always accuses people on the left of virtue signaling. It's bullshit. The right wingers are the biggest perpetrators of Christian signaling. And it is the most evil, manipulative, insidious tactic on the planet. They take people that have been told you can't critically think, you can't question, because that's just Satan in your ear. So they wear their little Christian cross and say, God here, or Jesus here. And then they're able to do just utterly immoral things. Why? Because their mega church pastor does the same shit to them when he takes from them in the tithing bowl. This is an American problem, American hypocrisy. All stems, this kind of shit right here, her fucking her boyfriend with her Christian cross while the taxpayers pay for it. Very familiar in white evangelical Christian circles, because that whole movement is forgiveness without accountability. Play the clip.
So, Secretary Noem, at any time during your tenure as Director of Department of Homeland Security, have you had sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski?
Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling tabloid garbage in this committee today. Ma'am, one thing that I would tell you is that he is a special government employee who works for the White House. There are thousands of them in the federal government.
So, reclaiming my
an
time,
advisor,
Secretary, it is okay for
no,
you to be
no
offended by
to
the
be
question.
Making any
it is
decisions,
okay for you to be
no
offended by the
to
question.
Making
but it is
decisions
also
and
a
putting
real
in
question.
Position. So what I would say
and
to
you should be able to
is
answer
that
the
what we do at the Department of Homeland Security every single
and without
day,
any hesitation,
every single day is to protect
if
this
someone
country
is
and
asking
to make
if
decisions.
You or any
She believes in nothing, Kristi Noem. All she does is just filibuster. And that's the through line with Republicans that I know. They believe in nothing. Whoever they spoke to the last moment, whatever show they just watched the last time, that's their opinion for the day. These people have zero conviction whatsoever. It is a house of cards built on nothingness other than exploitation. And Kristi Noem that is going to go down in the history books as one of these women that rode on the shoulders of women who actually work, women with conviction, women who believe in stuff, women who take risks. For her to climb that ladder and then collude and get in bed with literal fascists on taxpayer dime, it is the hypocrisy and the lack of conviction continues to be staggering.
Well, and I just want to point out that her husband was there supporting her. And when asked about it previously, she has a godly marriage. You know, God is all over her marriage and all that. The Kristi Noem Corey Lewandowski, that's been, I think, close to a decade, if not more. So please fucking spare me your moral high ground. It's ridiculous.
And I don't really care if politicians have affairs. I mean, I think it's a personal thing. I'm not one of these, but I'm not the big Bible thumper that's promoting that women stay at home and this I'm not some trad wife influencer. The Republican Party and its use of women is really getting more and more dangerous as they accelerate more and more into fascism, and they accelerate more and more into what their idealized idea is, which is the Christian Taliban, in my opinion. And I saw it long before Trump descended on that escalator. Long before. If you live in a Republican supermajority state in the Bible Belt, Trump and the stuff they're doing is not surprising. These people are very ambitious about exploiting other people to take away their rights. That is their number one goal. And the Republican Party has propagandized really expertly that they are so good with business. We're such great businessmen. And all that does is just lean into patriarchal lies that makes them feel good. They feel better, Republicans, when white men are in charge of things. And sadly, lots of white women feel better when white men are in charge of things, even to their own detriment, to their daughters' detriment. Mm-hmm. These are women that will not stand up for their own daughters. These are women that will not stand up for the Black and brown community. These are women that will not stand up for the LGBTQ plus community because they feel safer and better when a white man is in charge of everything, even if that white man is dementia pudding boy Trump. All right, here is a Republican calling out Noem for killing her dog.
Passage where you talk about killing a dog that was 14 months old. I train dogs, all right? And you are a farmer. You should know better. You should know that if you're going out to a hunting lodge and you're putting pheasants out and you're putting dogs out, you don't take a puppy out there. A 14-month-old dog is basically a teenager in dog years. You decided to kill that dog because you had not invested the appropriate time in training, and then you have the audacity to go into a book and say it's a leadership lesson about tough choices. It's in your book. We could play it if we had time. At that same lunch hour, you killed a goat.
I'm so glad that he lectured her on this because it's something that just kind of like we heard about, and then, she included in her book. I knew I remember people saying, Trump won't hire her. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he'll absolutely hire her now. Like, that is a qualification. It's a prerequisite to engage in moral collapse. But I'm so glad that it was a Republican that called her out on this, too, because shooting a dog, a puppy, when she put the puppy into this terrible situation, it reminds me of, I'm an armchair psychologist. And when you look at people that have sociopathy or psychopathy in their personality, one of the more obvious signs is killing animals. Like it's a real indicator. Another indicator that somebody has psychopathy or sociopathy is just the straight up dehumanization. So when you start killing animals and it can lead to dehumanization, it makes perfect sense from a psychological standpoint. that Kristi Noem is the person that killed a dog, and now she oversees the organizations that killed Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and many others in DHS custody. Renee Good and Alex Preddy got the attention of everybody because they were white, but I do want to acknowledge for my Black and brown brothers and sisters in this country, I see you and I hear you, and I know that you have been living under fascism and authoritarian rule the entire time, and you tried to tell us. I know that. And I think that's a very important part if we ever get out of this, of the autopsy that we all have to examine. But Kristi Noem, this is a person who needs to be in jail. Like, she needs to be in the psych ward in a jail. She is a monster.
Well, and when questioned about her comments that Alex Preddy was a domestic terrorist in the same congressional hearing, she would not back down from that, even though everyone knows that is categorically a lie. And it was brought to attention how hurtful that was to his family. She doesn't give a shit because Stephen Miller's like, rah, rah, rah. You killed somebody. Good. Now they'll be scared. Maybe they won't get out and vote. Maybe they won't protest. I mean, in my mind, that's where this is all like, they want everybody to be scared of them. And this, to me, was just like, look what we're willing to do, and we're not going to back down over it. We're not going to face accountability over it. We're not going to let the states investigate. We hold all the cards and you don't.
And also in this hearing, there's confrontation from other congressmen. Kristi Noem is basically funneling money. It looks like complete fraud to companies that were just invented 2 days before they received like over $100 million in payments. I encourage all of our listeners and viewers to go online to look at this, because a part of fascism, as we've learned from the scholars that we've had on this podcast, Timothy Snyder, Jason Stanley, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, a part of it is to show the moral collapse, is to feature it as a feature of the government. And so Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi, when they trot into these congressional hearings, they don't look scared because they are not scared. And that's all a part of the propaganda in this. All of this is going to lead to the United States is going to become like Russia, which is a failed state. We are a country that has leaders that lecture us about other people's religion and that claim that Jesus Christ is their Lord and personal Savior. However, they do the exact opposite of the central character of the Bible, Jesus Christ. He adamantly spoke out about the accumulation of wealth. How I know all of this is because I had all of these friends growing up in Oklahoma that wanted to recruit me, and they were really not the greatest people on the planet. So I looked, what did this Jesus guy teach? Why are these people so fucked up? It was the exact opposite of what all of these people who judged me, bullied me, told me I was going to go to hell, my brother and sister were going to go to hell, my parents were going to go to hell, from age like junior high up until an adult. My friends' kids bullied me. And then you go and look at the teachings of what Jesus taught. It's nothing of what these people pitch. It's nothing like it. In fact, I would say there is a brown Jesus, and then there is a white Jesus. And the white Jesus that these people have made is a bully, billionaire, doesn't give a shit about life, and is all for women killing their dogs and fucking their boyfriends in the back of a PJ. And then you have the brown Jesus, the one in the Bible that preached about social justice and was a radical empath that wanted to see people that were suffering. This guy wasn't a capitalist. This guy wasn't a nosy person up in everybody's business, what you're doing, what you believe, if you're going to heaven, if you're going to hell. That was not his purpose. It was to help people where they are suffering and to lift up the most marginalized, which is the exact opposite of what American evangelicals do. And we just cannot call this out enough. All right, that's all we have. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll be back later with more news.